Can working night shifts cause cancer? Denmark's government has agreed to pay hefty compensation to women who developed breast cancer after years of working night shifts. Will the Danish move set a precedent? And what are the other side effects of night work? We look at the social and legal ramifications for the labour market in the current economic crisis. This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the programme. I'm Lauren Taylor. Spending years working on night shifts could seriously damage your health. There's growing concern that shift workers could be at a higher risk of cancer than those who work standard hours. The World Health Organization is expected to release a report on a number of studies on shift workers in varying professions. In it, they conclude that long periods of working shifts, including night work, could be carcinogenic. In one study alone, 70,000 female nurses in the United States were followed for a number of years. The study found that around 42 in every 1,000 who worked on rotating night shifts for 30 years or more developed breast cancer. That's compared with just 29 in every 1,000 who never worked overnight. And it's not just women who can be affected. Other studies that were reviewed have shown that there's a higher prevalence of prostate cancer and other illnesses in men who work night shifts. Well, WHO has said that some of these studies are limited and that there's the possibility that factors other than shift work could have affected results. But that hasn't stopped one government from taking action. Denmark has started paying compensation to women who say that shift work caused them illness. All 38 women had worked night shift patterns for 20 years or more, and they were paid the equivalent of between $5,000 and $180,000. None of the claims was turned down. But most governments say that more research is needed, and for instance, the Health and Safety Executive in the UK has even commissioned its own report due in 2011. Well, joining us now to discuss this further are our guests in Helsinki, Mikko Haama, Director of the Human Factors at Work Department at the Finnish Institute of Occupational Health. In Brussels, Jorma Karppinen, Director of Eurofound, the European Foundation for the Improvement of Living and Working Conditions. And in London, Aileen McColgan, a professor specialising in discrimination and labour law at King's College in London. Thank you all three for joining us. If I could start with you, Mikko Haama, how bad is it working night shifts?
Well, it's true that night and shift work can indeed increase the risk for several chronic health problems like breast cancer and coronary heart disease and some other problems. There's certainly still limited amount of information, but on the other hand, for example, the International Agency for Research on Cancer has indeed concluded that its shift work is a probable carcinogenic factor for breast cancer. So we do have quite a lot of evidence, but which seems to stress people quite a lot, and we need some actions to cope with this.
Aileen McColgan, is a recognition that nights generally are kind of hard work and perhaps harder on the system. Is there enough protection, do you think, from the side effects at the moment legally?
Well, I think in terms of employment law specifically, night workers don't tend to be protected from discrimination as such. There are some provisions that apply in terms of working time, and obviously if night or shift work can be proven to damage health in any significant way, then personal injury claims are possible. But I think it's probably the case that legally it's an under-resourced or an under-researched area.
Jorma Karppinen, if I could bring you in at this stage, just give us an indication of how widespread night working or shift working actually is. And I mean, what's the sort of scale of number of people who might be affected by this?
Well, quite many people in Europe do it. Of course, Europe is still very heterogeneous, so the variation between countries is I would say, huge. In some countries there is a lot of it, and in some others much less. So in that respect, there isn't any real European standard.
So Aileen McColgan, I mean, Denmark at the moment appears to be on its own in accepting the findings of the link between night work and breast cancer. Do you think others are likely to follow that, or do you think they will just wait simply until there's more research?
Well, I think Denmark's acted in a progressive way by taking the step of paying out. I suspect that in many other countries, and I think probably in the UK, no action is likely to be taken by the government in terms of compensation until it's been established in court cases that night work, shift work, actually as a legal matter causes breast cancer or other forms of ill health.
And just staying with you at the moment, just legally at the moment, I mean, can people argue that for health reasons they don't want to work night shifts? I mean, even if it's not something as extreme as cancer, could they say that they, physically it affects them and they don't want to do it?
Well, certainly the working time provisions require that night workers be given health assessments and that health considerations be taken into account. But generally speaking, if you were to say to your employer, I don't want to work night shifts because it doesn't suit me, the employer might well suggest that you go and find some other job.
So if I could bring Mikko Harma back in at this stage, I mean, for health reasons, do you think people should actually try to avoid working night shifts?
Well, basically, it's quite clear that for some people who are more vulnerable to these health effects, it would be better to do day work. And in principle, our legislation tries to support this basic principle, trying to shift people who are very sensitive for these health problems to day work. And so that would be correct. So there are large individual differences, but we still need improvements in working hours for all people and certain limits in relation to how much disturbance in the circadian rhythmicity we can accept because of certain shift systems. And basically we do have this working hour directive which tries to support this idea.
Jorma Karppinen, other ways that people can actually reduce the harmful side effects from night working, things that they can do to improve the situation?
Sure, the employers can organize the work in many different ways in practice, and that is probably the best way to try to counteract the health effects of different, I would say, special working conditions. European Foundation has a lot of statistical material on different kind of correlations between working conditions and the health impact, and we can show different correlations which are of statistical nature. I mean, you just can't, so to say, apply that into any individual case, but we can show that there are strong correlations often between the working conditions and health impact. About 30% of Europeans in general say that their work impacts their health. And again, the differences between European countries are very big, ranging from about 15% to 15% to 50%. So,
Mikko Harma, just on the issue of kind of people who do have to work night shifts, is there any advice for how they can make it better for themselves? I mean, should they be doing longer runs of nights, or should they perhaps do shorter runs with breaks? What's supposed to be better for you?
Yes, that's right. Well, we have actually in the Finnish Institute of Occupational Health made a lot of studies on what kind of shift systems would be most healthy and in addition feasible in companies. And it seems that the kind of rapidly forward rotating systems allowing more time, more recovery between the shifts and trying to shift rather quickly from night shifts to day shifts and so forward are most healthy in relation to many outcomes, especially fatigue and sleep.
OK, do stay with us, all three of you, in to take a very quick break now. When we come back, what are the social and legal ramifications of one country acknowledging the health hazards related to graveyard shifts? Do stay with us on Inside Story.